raise your hand if you want to ask them verbally. If you want to enter them into the chat, you can do that. If people want me to go through parts of the reporting, I'm happy to go to those, but I don't want to do anything that will be be redundant. So really want you to drive, as we do in these office hour sessions.
I would love for you to go through the part of the reporting process again. I'm
Sure.
still trying to get it in my head.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to do that here. If that sounds like it'll work for others and nobody else has other burning questions, I'll go through. So I think last time the deck didn't take long, so we can spend more time on it, take questions as we go. And again, if you have other questions beyond what's covered here, feel free to put them in chat or raise your hand. And is that flipping? Did anyone have any questions around the financial reporting, or is it really the evaluation reporting? I can skip ahead to the evaluation reporting unless anyone has any questions on the financial side. I think particularly the for the second quarter reporting portion, similar for those of you who took the quarterly option. It's basically the same as what you did back in October, except for instead of reporting for any funds that you spent prior to October 1st, you'll be reporting on any funds that were dispersed prior to January 1st, anything dispersed during the last calendar year. And people who either missed that deadline, submitted pieces after, or had spent in October and submitted them earlier, all of those that are in our system will be counted, and we'll be doing that reconciliation, sending out additional checks in the latter half of this month, assuming that information's in store there. I don't know if Wendy, have any other reminders, things to flag on that front, or certainly if anyone has any questions about financial reporting, happy to take those here before we jump into the evaluation reporting.
I have a very brief thing to note is I think there was a little bit of a glitch in the system around Q1 reporting, and a couple of people reported in Q2. We've sort of fixed it on the back end in order to ensure payments went out for Q2, but I don't think you're going to be able to report. So if you are one of those people, you would just email us directly and we'll make sure the system's updated with your information. If you don't know if you're one of those people, I think I can figure out some of them by looking on the back end, but just wanted to note, if you go in and you see that there's no way for you to submit it, that may be the issue. Just reach out to us.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Wendy. That's a great point. Yeah, we could probably broaden that, right? You probably don't have to worry so much if you're one of those people or not one of those people. If you encounter any problems or glitches with the portal trying to upload anything, you can email email the documents at that Workforce email address, and like Wendy says, we can put them up on the back end, sorted out. Great, thanks for flagging that, Wendy. And so the evaluation reporting is the part we can again go over. Again, feel free, anyone has any questions on any of these slides or any related questions, feel free to raise your hand. It's really, this is the piece that allows us to give the information to see what impact the program is having, getting back into the legislative session again. Not sure where the legislature will go. Obviously, workforce issues weren't solved in the last year. Nobody expected them to be. It's a long run, but having a handle on how effective programs like these are, with the the $60 million they allocated towards these programs, we hope will inform policies and support for future future programs to be as effective as possible. And the pieces here, as we noted for how to submit, really come down to whether you took the quarterly option or the lump sum payment. If you took the lump sum payment, then the portal won't have a place for you to upload reporting, so you could just email to the Workforce Grant address. Others, when you upload your second quarter financial report, you should be able to upload a second document as well, multiple documents, just as you did last time. You had the attestation and the financial report. So in this case, you can upload this evaluation report at the same time. As Wendy was just saying, and as we were saying, if you encounter any issues not being able to upload multiple documents, or you upload one and forgot you did the other, no worries, not the end of the world at all. You can send the evaluation report to us at that email address, and we'll upload it on the back end. I see a couple messages popping up here in the chat. See from Patricia, do we have to report in April 2023? There's no evaluation report in April 2023. The evaluation reports are just twofold: the mid grant year, which is this one right now, in January, so the halfway through the state fiscal year, and then one at the end of the grant period. So the grant year ends June 30th. All funds should be dispersed by June 30th. So as that wrap up, that for July 15th will be that end of year program, and that's for everybody, whether they do quarterly or lump sum. Presumably, the lump sum will have expended the funding by now. But in order to establish those baselines and comparisons and the impact of the funding of the premium pay over the longer term, or differences there, are why there's these two periods. But good news is no evaluation reporting in April, just the financial reporting for anyone who spends funds during this current period. So if you have a disbursement this week or in February or March, you would report that in April.
I'd say, Sean, if you want to go back one slide, the other question we had related to timing
Sure.
was, do we report for all 4 quarters if we received a lump sum, or only October and a final? So I guess actually that's the one before. The
Yep.
slide before this indicates you would, for those who received a single lump sum payment, you would be reporting 90 days, 104 days after your check or ACH date. So that is that one-time reporting, but also the evaluation reporting that Sean's been speaking about.
Yeah, and on that side, we followed up initially with folks on the quarterly reports for information there. If anything was still missing as far as the sam.gov UEI, those that were outstanding, any kind of other issues that were flagged, and any questions in those financial reports, and are looking now as folks rolling time periods have come up on the lump sum, reaching out. So if we haven't reached out, or there's any questions there, we'll reach out on them. But if you have questions or expected anything as far as your final report there, feel free to let us know.
And then I think the other one related to timing is, if we spent $0 during the last quarter, do we still have to complete the attestation?
Yeah, and so on the attestation, if you spent $0, correct me if you disagree, Wendy, if you spent $0, I think it's fine to just submit a sheet that says $0 spent this quarter. Basically, that will you wouldn't be getting an additional check for this quarter either way, but by putting that document forth, it'll spare us from nagging you, and spare you from being nagged by us whether you forgot to submit a report. And as far as the attestation, if they didn't spend in the quarter, they wouldn't need to do an
Yeah.
attestation for that quarter, right? They could just do the
I
one
think that's
document.
okay. The attestations are all certifications related to grant expenditures. So if you did not
Yeah.
make it grant expenditures that quarter, then you do not have to upload
Don't have
it.
to resign it. Yep. Great, thank you. Let's see, I'm just going in order. I see a message here. But if there's anything else related to the financial reporting, the other questions I'm seeing relate to the evaluation.
That's what I'm seeing, unless
Okay.
anyone wants to speak up. So I was trying to sequence.
Okay. Yep,
accordingly.
great. All right. Perfect. And I'll let you see one there, but I can set you flag if you have them. Wonder if it would be helpful to go through what's in them for folks and try to see some of the particular issues. Actually, the one I have right here, I see the question from Andrew, which relates to step one. So it may be good, we can kind of hit these together, an overview for everybody and that particular question. So step one of the evaluation reporting is going to look similar to the application you initially filled out, with a couple of different couple distinctions. The contact information is largely similar, although this eligible employer type, I believe we had in a different part of the application, not on the spreadsheet. But there were 10 types of providers that were eligible for this round of premium pay grants. That's a pull down there. You would pull it down. If you're a nursing home, you would select nursing home. If you're adult daycare, you would select adult daycare. And then the counties of work, I think, are pretty clear. That's a new piece. But if you're a nursing home in
Thank you.
in Burlington, you would put Chittenden County. You wouldn't put Washington County here as a secondary county unless you had the same company had a nursing home in Montpelier or Waterbury as well. If you only were in those two counties, you would say no to additional counties. If you worked in others, you would say yes. And primary would just be where the largest portion of your business is, the most employees.
But just note there's some background. If everyone other than Sean wants to mute, that would be wonderful.
Great. Thank you, Wendy. We might be able to mute from here too. Possibly.
I'm trying, but it's just saying pin.
working?
It's not
Oh,
letting
okay.
me do that anymore.
Oh, okay. Let me see if
I believe it's Matthew.
okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Janet. Yeah. So it did let me mute everybody. It said that everybody can still unmute themselves if they want, and I think Janet did let us know that. So I think that hopefully working. If anyone has any issues, flag it in chat. And so in this case, I guess the example we filled out wrong since we said Washington County. Presumably they would have had a second nursing home there. But the other piece that's new, maybe the most significant piece, that I think where the question went that now disappeared when I muted everybody, I'll find again, was this table D. And so these are 15 categories of staff that certainly aren't all inclusive, but these are particular employee types that have had a particular strains and shortages, and there's interest in. So the thought is here that probably most of you don't have all 15 types. You go through and select yes or no for ones that you have or don't have, and that will just make the subsequent sheet two sheets a little easier, a little more streamlined. And the issue that that Andrew says when he selects on them and says yes, so you're saying that you have yes and they're not showing up as the option there. We can look into that. I'm not sure if anybody else has encountered that issue. When we tested it, they work. It was working. We can look into the particular one. I'm happy to follow up with Andrew later, or if you flag which of the spreadsheet versions you had. I think where Andrew's referring to is right here in column J. What column J and again column T should be offering is the options that you selected yes, that you entered yes to on step 1. So whether that's a version of whether it's with the software, what it can be, we're happy to set up time and reach out directly to Andrew. And if anyone else is having that issue, please please let us know. But that should be a pull down there. For step 2, is we noted it's a good segue here that again it'll largely be similar to the application, just with the difference being, whereas with the application, that initial reference period, look back period, you're looking back to January through March. Again, having the option of whether it was easier for you with your payroll systems and everything else to look at that full 13-week quarter, or whether it was easier to select 12 weeks during that quarter. And so for this period, we're looking at October through December of 2022. Again, you have the options. You saw that there's the two different workbooks there. You can either choose one that's the full 13-week quarter, or one that's 12 weeks. If you choose the 12 weeks, you can choose which 12 you'd like. And actually, for this October to December, the weeks fell neatly within that quarter. And so the one we're looking at here is the 13-week option. So people who were on staff the entire 13 weeks would be 13 weeks on payroll if they're full-time, just like with the application. If they started 3 weeks into the quarter or left 3 weeks before the end, that'd be 10. We noted again the type of employee would be the ones you selected yes to. In addition to those ones from step 1, there's also this other category. Other is just that catch-all bucket. Again, the 15 are not exhaustive 15 types, so we expect there could be a lot of people that could run the gambit of everything from senior management to janitorial to any other building and grounds, any other positions that aren't included would just be that other category. And then finally, if they received premium pay or not, would be there. And actually, that's a piece I should have flagged as well. Actually, back on this step 1, the bottom part, we just had that approach to distributing premium pay. We don't want anything too exhaustive. If people did something simple like $2 an hour for eligible employees during a reference period, you can say that. If you had a more complex way of giving it to some employees, can reference that. We don't need it to be paragraphs and paragraphs, but an overview of how you chose to distribute the premium pay is helpful there. As noted, you saw the 2 distinctions there between the designated agencies, specialized service agencies, as opposed to the other 9 employer types. The distinction here is for the DAs and SSAs, they also have this additional column of primary category of work, just noting whether they're mental health versus DDS or emergency services. That's really the only distinction between the two forms there. And as I noted in the email for here, we did actually make that mistake initially in the versions that were posted. This primary category of work for the vacant positions on the right on step 2 there showed up in the Excel sheet for the non-DA SSAs. It didn't show up in table I or double I, but it showed up here. As we noted, it doesn't impact anything. The the version that's posted now, the corrected, updated version has column Z hidden for the non-DA SSAs. But if you are already working off the original version, it's fine. If you filled that in, it's fine. If you ignored column Z, that's fine. None of that will mess up anything on this side. And the piece here, we just noted this was similar to with the original application. If you do have multiple positions, I know particularly with a lot of the nursing positions, a lot of folks may have 10 positions listed. If you list them out, if you're hired for 2.5 CNAs, listing out CNA 1 of 3, CNA 2 of 3, CNA 3 of 3 in their hours would be helpful just to distinguish them from each other. Table 4 is this, or table IV there is the same as in the original application, just of all these vacant hours, how many were covered by contract staff. So if you had one traveler who was filling in for that 520 hours, you'd put the 520 there. And then one question that's come up, that came up a fair bit over the past months is you had people sign a commitment to work an additional quarter. They signed that. Hopefully, in most cases, they honored that, intended to honor it. In some cases, we've heard from folks who were worried that somebody signed it, and then a few weeks later they gave their notice. What that means for all of you, that's not on you as the employer. If you got their commitment, you have that documentation, and in good faith, obviously that's all you can do. But for these purposes, if somebody say you gave a payout in August and they signed that commitment in August to work another 3 months and they left in September, if that halftime person then wasn't showing up, you just put enter that they were half an FTE, or if you had 2 full-time people, you just enter two in there. Basically just saying that they aren't showing up in the two tables on this step, but they did receive premium pay. Step 3 is another place, and I think, Andrew, we can discuss this too. It sounded like for Andrews, this maybe wasn't automatically populating either. Anyone you selected yes to on step 1 should appear here. If you selected all 15 types, you'd have 16 rows, the 15 all listed out plus the other. But if you only have a few, it'll be a little more concise, neater and tidier. Just looking for, of everyone in that position within your organization, of all the administrative staff, what's the highest hourly wage, what's the lowest hourly wage, and what's the average hourly wage there. Not sure if there were any questions related to this step. And then the final step, you don't necessarily have to do anything. It's a check. It's one thing we noticed some of the organizations, I think, filling this out completely understandable with entering employees, that there could be multiple duplicates, and so we didn't have this in the application and had a lot of back and forth where we found duplicate employee numbers, emailed folks back and forth. In some cases it was an accident. Same person was entered multiple times. In other cases there was a valid reason for it. In the case of, say, two Jane Smiths, if the unique identifier was there, like the birth date, we wouldn't need to contact people. We'd be able to see for ourselves that the 2 Jane Smiths were 2 different people. Or we could count the 2 employee number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, that one of them had 6 hours at full time, and that they had had 7 hours at part time, and added up to less than 1.0 FTEs. Other times we couldn't figure that out, or if it went over one FTE. We had to have some back and forth to get those corrections. So our thought with adding this step 4 was just allow a little step check, kind of easy way to check the work. It should populate all the names or employee numbers from that step 2. And if you just kind of give that a quick glance over, see if there's anything red, and if so, just kind of confirm that they're appropriate. You can put a note in this one. These first 2 columns are locked. They'll be controlled by what's in step 2, but this explanation text box is editable. So if you want to put a note to us, explanatory note in that text box, you'll be able to do so. That's the extent of what we have here. Again, happy to talk about any pieces, or Wendy, if there's other.
Yeah, I can try
questions?
to start walking through the questions. So the first ones, we paid a lump sum on 9/30/2022. What is the 12-week period that we are reporting on for the evaluation? The financial reporting has been done.
Okay, great. Yeah, so to make that answer easy, it's the period here for the evaluation reporting isn't tied to when the payments were made. Everybody's reporting out on the same period, that October to December period. So if you choose the 12-week option rather than the 13-week option, you could either choose October 2nd of 2022, which is a Sunday, through Saturday, December 24th, or if you prefer to do Sunday, October 9th through through Saturday, December 31st, it's fine to do that. If your payroll system or pieces don't run Sunday to Saturday, if they run Monday to Sunday, you
I'll
could do
take a tea.
you could do the third.
Oh,
Oops, and Brenda, if you could go back on mute
Oh,
unless you
I'm
have a question.
sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. Happens. Yes. So the short answer is the evaluation reporting is for that October to December window, and you can choose what 12-week period within there works for you, and it's not tied to whether you haven't dispersed any funds yet, dispersed all your funds in July, or anywhere in between.
And it looks like there's still some confusion on why are we reporting over these 12 weeks if we've already paid the funding out. So just to clarify, this isn't the financial reporting, it's our evaluation reporting. So it's helping us understand the impact of this program. So are you retaining more employees as a result of this? Have vacancy or turnover rates changed? So that's why it's okay that it's paid out. We're wondering what changes we'll see over the first half of the year of the program and the second half of the year of the program.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Wendy.
Sorry, I'm slowly going up to the to the top. So that we have in the section, and just Sean, for your reference, I've been trying to put a thumbs up when we answer questions. So it's easier to find the unanswered questions was my strategy for tracking, but some other people have been giving thumbs up, but that's why you'll see them.
Sounds good. I just put a thumbs up next to Andrew's, acknowledging we haven't solved your problem, Andrew, but we'll follow up offline, finding out what exactly with your spreadsheet, and if it's hopping on a screen share with you, or we can do that as well.
Great. So the next one is, in the section that you state if an employee received retention funds, do we report those that did receive retention funds but are not eligible and will not be applied towards the retention grant as a yes or no? So I'm reading that as you perhaps gave payments to all of your employees, regardless if they met the criteria, but you're only using our funds for those who are eligible. Is that? I don't know if Laura's still here.
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah, that's how I'm reading it too. So yeah, I get what you're saying. So basically, it's a question of if you gave premium pay from other funding sources or your own budget as opposed to from this grant. That's a great question, and we should have been clear. Yeah, we were specifically referring to this for this grant. So, and I can put that out as an FAQ and a clarification as well. So you would answer yes if they were given premium pay from this grant, if you used your own funds for other programs.
But should they be listed and it says received premium pay? No. Should they still be listed as an employee?
Oh, still listed as employee. Yes. Yeah, they should still be listed as an employee. As with the application, everybody who works for your organization in those locations should be listed as an employee, including shared living providers, which was a question we'd gotten by email. I wanted to flag that as well, just like in the original application, because shared living providers who may not be seen as employees per se, but they were specifically eligible for this grant and counted for these purposes, and were listed in the original application. Those shared living providers who worked in that October to December period should also be listed here as well.
Great. So they'd add the name and received premium pay. I think it would be no, because it's not receiving premium pay from this
grant. That's right.
The next question is, if we still have unused funds and we were annual one-time grant recipients, can we still offer the bonus to new employees in this next quarter? I'm assuming that means by an annual one-time grant recipient, you took the lump sum grant award. The lump sum grant award has sort of a 90-day allowance. So you would need to be sort of counting from that date on your check or your ACH to see if you still have the flexibility to spend those funds.
Yeah, and if there's questions about that with particular folks, we're happy to look at those to accounts and people's specific situations. But right, as Wendy says, that's the window.
The next one is, if we don't have a master's level clinician, but rather a PhD level, do we answer yes or no?
If we don't have a master's level, rather a PhD.
Don't have a category for PhD clinicians, so I think
right.
you could add that as an other if you would like to, right? You can
Right.
put that in its own category.
Right. Yeah, and actually, and the other is just a catch-all bucket, so you wouldn't be entering them. But right, somebody whose PhD level would just be, you would, if you don't have masters, you would say no, and then right, the PhD person, you would, right, like Wendy said, you would just select the other tab for them, and they would go in that catch-all bucket with with folks who aren't in those particular categories.
The next question is, when trying to download the 12-week report, the system asks to download a copy or download as ODS. Which one do we choose?
I'm actually not familiar with the ODS side. So I think, where I've found it and had it work is downloading it as a spreadsheet. I can't say definitively that it wouldn't work to do as ODS. I don't, if anybody else knows ODS or has tried it in ODS format and can give advice on that, certainly welcome other people to help with the answer. But doing the first option there, the spreadsheet, is the one I'm familiar with and that we tested out and worked when we download it, and it reopens in Excel for us.
I
And again,
think
if people have any questions around, around that or issues downloading it, by all means, feel free to reach out or shoot an email. If you do shoot an email, let us know which spreadsheet, which version you were looking for. We can, we can email it to you or try other means of getting it to you, certainly.
I think we've hit most of them, although I'm realizing my typed answer to Nicole's question might not be a great answer, so I'll just take a second shot at it. It says, does step 2 need to be done if we had lump sum and already completed our financial reporting? I indicated that evaluation reporting is required. I think you are more specifically asking about step 1, 2, 3, and 4 within the evaluation reporting. So yes, all steps would be included when you do your evaluation reporting, even if you still have spent it all. I think the rest of the questions are just challenges with the spreadsheet, which I think we probably have to do individually.
Great. Yep. So we will, we'll follow up on that. We'll look specifically into those 4 versions, and we'll follow up with the folks. Let's see who had that. And again, if anyone has any other questions, happy to have you put them in the chat or raise now. Otherwise, happy to wrap this.
We're getting some more.
Okay, great.
So the first one is this the final evaluation for premium pay grant?
So no, I think as we noted on the earlier slide in the site before, the evaluation reporting, the financial reporting has the quarterly for the quarterly folks, or once for the lump sum folks. The evaluation reporting has two periods. There's one at the mid-grant period, which is the one we're talking about right now, midway through the fiscal year, the grant period. And then the second one, the final one, will be at the end of the grant period. So the grant period ending June 30th, that will be coming in by July 15th. So I think as Wendy has noted earlier, with the purpose of it being to see kind of how, the longer lasting effects of the grant, is it helping organizations retain employees. So we're getting these 2 snapshot looks at it, one in January that we're getting for that October to December period, and then in July we'll get it for the April through June period.
We have 2 people saying they're having issues logging into their account and asking if there are any technical issues going on. I'll note I did just log in, but I logged in as a staff member. So I don't know if anyone else is able to test this or has not had issues, but we can definitely follow up with our technical team for anyone having problems. But if anyone wants to try and has any other input, we'd certainly take it too. The next question is just,
sorry, Wendy, I was just going to interrupt you just to say, remember I think the syntax too is one thing that often have been confusing there with putting the username and the password for this. If you don't have it saved, or what your email address username here, that was one thing that we had found some, as far as the resetting of the password. We've heard people who tried to use the password reset, if they didn't have the proper username, it sometimes wasn't working. But as Wendy said, yeah, certainly reach out to us with any details about what you're seeing, and we can help with that and pass it to our IT.
And thank you so much to Sarah for clarifying. It looks like one of the issues may be awardees who received a single lump sum payment are logging in and looking for where to upload. There is nowhere in the system for you to upload. You'll have to send those to us directly at ahs.workforcegrant@vermont.gov, and we will take them and put them onto your application through the back end. It just does not have the functionality to take in those files.
Thank you.
But if you're having trouble getting into Salesforce, we can get our technical team to help.
Yeah. I see Connie said, if we consider employees full-time for 30 hours or more, should we move those who average between 30 to 34 as part-time employees? Yes, that's correct. As with the original application, we're following the same methodology and definitions here up as we have in row 1 of step 2. So anybody who works at least 35 hours per week, or we're going in that table I, even if they're only working, it says less than, right? Would say greater than or equal to 35 hours per week as full-time employees. So even if they're only working 35 hours per week and you consider 40 hours full-time, they would go in here. And I think in the case, as Connie was saying, if you consider somebody full-time and they're at 30 hours, we're asking that they would go in table II here. And I see Stephanie said password worked. Oh,
The password change should work if I've myself had this issue several times where I've either typed in the wrong password too many times or did the password reset too many times. If you get stuck in that situation, we can have the technical team help you, but hopefully the password reset will meet your needs.